Wake up. It's time. It's time for 2 hours of caffeinated sports talk. Live from the studios of Sports Talk 977 in Ruston, Louisiana, it's the Nick Brown Show.
Good morning. Welcome to the Nick Brown Show. Appreciate you waking up early on this Saturday morning for 2 hours of caffeinated sports talk. Nick Brown Show may sound a little different today. We are on the road, and of course, I left one cord. So Nick Brown Show is on the road today, actually staying in to the top in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Made our way last night, headed down to the coast, Biloxi, for a little college baseball today. But I had to welcome in the best board op in the world, John Tabor. Good morning, John. How are you?
I'm well.
Good deal, good deal. And the preacher man will be with us today. We'll have Lynn.
He's right here. I'm there with donuts.
Absolutely. What a great day. I know John is happy to see you. Lynn Scarberg going to join us at 8:30. Max Howell going to join us at 9:15 this morning. I always love to hear from you at 888-993-7762. That is 888-993-7762. Love to hear from you at the Nick Brown Show. But what's on your mind this morning? Boy, great high school football last night in North Louisiana, hopefully wherever you live as well. But a lot to talk about in college football as well. And, of course, we'll talk about a subject that is near and dear. You know, I told you I've been pulling for the Michigan Wolverines, and you heard go, I'm a Harbaugh guy. But you know, what should the Big Ten do? Big Ten do? Because all the other teams, of course, upset about. I guess we'll call this Spygate, for lack of a better term. But with all of the allegations that come out and stealing signs in college football. Last week, Zach Arnett from Mississippi State accused Hugh Freeze of stealing signs as well. But your thoughts on that? But turn over to Preacher Man. Your thoughts on sign stealing in college football?
It's kind of like we've mentioned before. I mean, there's a rule in the rule books. Apparently, there is no consequence to that rule. I just think anybody's going to try and get an edge. You're aware of that. You try to disguise your signs. I just think you've got to be better at it. Did he go to another level by having people go to games and scout games? But I think you're naive to think that people weren't doing that. I mean, coaches have closed practices, and you know, NFL is so much more open about injury reports. I mean, college coaches don't even give out injury reports. They're worried somebody's going to get an edge. To me, it's just like I'm not shocked that it happened, and I can't believe other coaches are that shocked that it happened. Yeah, there should be some consequences, but it shouldn't involve forfeits. It shouldn't involve suspension of Harbaugh, Michigan being out of the playoffs. What exactly? Maybe it's money. Maybe it's some restrictions on some other things. I don't know, but I'm not shocked, and I can't really believe everybody else is that shocked either.
Go straight to the phone lines. Who do we have this morning?
We got Chuck.
Good morning, Chuck. How are you?
Good morning. I see you're down in the hub this morning in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Oh, absolutely. A little road trip today.
Oh, yes. I was listening. Congratulations to your broadcast. I watched the game last night. I watched that one. I was watching John Curtis and Carr. That was the blowout. And I heard you all talking about Flip. Which I hear you all talking about the Michigan situation. I see what happens with Tommy Stallman. But you all talking about that. And, we've seen victories and some performances. I think watching that game last night, that's being disputed about J.T. Curtis's victory. The first one, 6-22, is really good. But I also check the 5-9-2. But definitely, Coach Curtis said he wants to discuss that. He said he was one of about the people that he coaches. He's a type coach. But also, I was just, it was just what you always talking about. That's the reason I call you. Just talking about the Michigan situation. There's been a lot of that going on. They've been a lot and to put them on the list with the New England Patriots and the Houston Astros and some of that, and the Boston Red Sox, and just come out Seminoles. I think they had all this video. It's hoping to at the game when Second Mission was playing. But there's been a lot of strange things lately.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Chuck, you look at it, cheating's been a part of the game. You're certainly correct. It's going to be interesting to see what punishment does take place. Man, certainly appreciate you calling in. You have a great Saturday, and keep listening to the Nick Brown Show.
All right, you take care, and you'll take care, be safe, and you be safe on the road as well, Nick.
Absolutely, man, Chuck. Appreciate you calling in. You have a great Saturday.
All right, thank you.
You can call just like Chuck did at 888-993-7762. That is 888-993-7762. Love to hear from you here on the Nick Brown Show. But, you know, look, talking about
Nick,
this. Go ahead.
Nick, just real quick. You were at the game. That was a big game. Just one or two quick comments about, and then we'll get on to college football. But heck of a high school game last night.
Yeah, last night, though. Welcome those listening on Smash Hits 94.5. You've got a great team in your area, and the Jackson Aggies as well. Undefeated Ruston Bearcats did drop actually dropped the first game of the season, but was ruled a victory due to an ineligible player or some type of record keeping, and the team that accrued that violation has since forfeited the rest of their season for other violations that were called. So Ruston Bearcats are undefeated, traveling to West Monroe to take on the West Monroe Rebels. A little backstory, those listening in Alabama, wherever you may be. Nick Brown Show heard in 4 states this morning, in Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, and, of course, Louisiana. Great crowd on hand at Rebel Stadium, Don Shales Field, as the West Monroe Rebels were 8-1. And little backstory, of course, everyone knows 30 years last year. The Bearcats won for the first time in 30 years. And last night, just a great showdown, Clayton. Two heavyweights. Love the game plan from West Monroe. Controlled the clock. You look at the final stats. Time of possession heavily in the favor of West Monroe Rebels, and it was a 35-28 Bearcat victory. But really just a very good high school football game. And you know, a lot of people, you look at your records, Bearcats are undefeated. You do that comparative score analysis, and as a fan, you do that. Good thing that coaches don't do that. You look, a common opponent, the Ouachita, same district, the Ouachita Lions. Bearcats took care of them rather hand easily the week before, and this was a 10-point game for West Monroe and Ouachita. And I think you just look at it, boy, just so anyone that thought it was going to be a blowout, no, absolutely. 2 good football teams playing last night. And Clayton, you look at running Jordan the Jet Hayes, running back for Ruston High School, going 249 yards. Thought a lot of great passes. That's one thing, you know, in the early part of the season, the Bearcats didn't really have to pass the ball that much, and you wondered, you know, develop the passing game. Boy, you really saw some touch passes from Brantley, and just you got to give credit to Hayden Federico, quarterback for West Monroe. They took the lead on a 50-yard touchdown run, and momentum was going towards the Rebels side. And it's one of the few times the Rebels come in actually as the underdog at their own stadium. Bearcats have not won there since 1989. And, boy, just a great environment for high school football, and that's for everyone that's involved in the program, whether you're a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, student at either respective school, marching band, cheerleaders, pep squad. Man, just a great night for high school football.
Yeah, and if I'm a college team looking for speed, you know, the more young man from West Monroe and then Hayes at Ruston, goodness gracious, there was some speed there. So in our listening area, if there's college coaches out there, well, there's some good speed that you might want to get on your team in the future.
Absolutely. We're going to continue to talk with about – I'm just not going to let this Big Ten cheating scandal go. Of course, we're going to have Lynn Scarborough going to join us at 8:30 this morning. Max Howell at –
So have you hardened on that?
Yeah,
Are you more in the, you know, you've been a Harbaugh fan and
no, I think
kind of whatever, or are you still like, hey, the sky's better, or do you feel like there should be some consequences?
I don't think there should be any consequences. I went back and read the rule, and the only reason, that's what I'll talk about this morning as well, one of the continuing topics on the Nick Brown Show. I think it's time for a split in college football. I used the analogy last week. You can play golf at a PGA course. You can play golf in Jackson, Alabama at the Jackson Country Club. It's the same sport. You can play on a Robert Trent Jones course, or you can play at your local community course. It's golf, but it's not the same. And you look at the Power 5 levels. I went back and found the rule, Clayton. It's from Preacher Man. It's from 1994. And the NCAA said, you know what, we're not going to have electronic equipment in the helmet. The technology obviously is there. John and I talked about it earlier this week. Why not? Well, maybe not everyone can afford it. You know that people are going to steal signs. That's why you have a dinosaur, a Corvette, a Monster energy drink, and a famous actress or a famous singer. So if you can determine what a team is going to run by looking at a Monster Zero Sugar energy drink, a dinosaur, a Corvette, and Taylor Swift, so be it. You're gonna. That's why they disguise that. Or you could go back to the only reason I ever got to play high school football, because you actually ran in plays. But the technology is there. They said, the NCAA said in 1994, you can't have electronic headgear in the helmet because not everyone can afford it. And there's nothing in the rule book about what you're going to do. Now, did Michigan, you're going to go look, coaches resign and saying, oh, they first of all going to fall on the sword. They had no knowledge I was there. Of course they did. Of course they did, because if you're an assistant, are you going to go out and spend this money and travel? Okay, let's just say I'm an assistant coach at Auburn. Am I going to go to every one of Alabama's games and they not have knowledge of that? I'm going to go to Bryant-Denny. I'm going to travel the Crimson Tide schedule. Are they not going to know that? But there's nothing in the penalty books about it. Do you forfeit games? Of course, the Big Ten commissioners are upset. Of course they are. Why? Because Michigan is doing extremely well. We would love to hear your thoughts and opinions this morning at 888-993-7762. That's 888-993-7762. Should the Big Ten commissioners do that something? The Big Ten athletic directors met with Commissioner Tony Petitti this week on a video call, want him to do something. You're listening to The Nick Brown Show on the Nick Brown Show Network. We'll be right back after this break.
ProVision Security, preserving your past, protecting your future. Cameras, doorbell cameras, systems you can control all from your smartphone. Security systems with low monthly monitoring starting at $14.99. ProVision Security is more than security. Sound system, hanging your flat screen TV, speakers in your ceiling, even Wi-Fi systems. ProVision Security, 314 East Georgia in Ruston. Call Michael at 773-3703. Check him out on Facebook, ProVision Security.
Don't let low back pain ruin your football or hunting season. If sitting in the deer stand or in the stadium gives you some aches and pains, the spinal bones in your lower back are misaligned. Sitting causes compression of the nerves and discs. Call Dr. Bob Rendina at Chiro Network. Chiropractic treatments work to realign and mobilize your spine so it works with you. Call Dr. Bob at Chiro Network in Ruston and feel good again.
I'm hashing over an ethical dilemma, so I think I could use some black coffee.
Of course, you can get black coffee and all your favorite coffee beverages at the Depot Coffee Shop. The Depot Coffee Shop is located at 211 West Railroad Avenue in downtown Ruston. The Depot Coffee Shop is coffee with a cause. The Depot Coffee Shop is open Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. and on Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 8 to 3. Call in your order at 232-7084 or visit the Depot Coffee Shop. Tyler Towers Roofing. No job too big or too small. Proud supporter of the Bearcats. Tyler Towers Roofing. Residential, commercial, industrial. Licensed and insured. New construction and remodeling. Tyler Towers Roofing. Roof inspections, repairs, replacements, free estimates. Call 318-957-0267. That's 318-957-0267. Got hail, we nail. Tyler Towers Roofing.
Sexton Animal Health Center in Ruston serves your pet and you, providing high-quality pet health and wellness services to assist your pet in living a longer, happier, and healthier life, and providing you with access to leading-edge products, services, and educational content to enhance the bond with your pet. Sexton Animal Health Center is a full-service veterinary medical facility providing the best possible medical, surgical, digital radiology, and dental care for their patients. And ask about pet daycare and boarding, too. Sexton Animal Health Center, 1628 East Kentucky in Ruston. Become a friend on Facebook to receive the latest news and updates. What's for breakfast at the new Delta Biscuit Company? Chicken and waffles, avocado toast, Bayou Eggs Benedict with Kentucky Legend smoked ham, omelets, duck fat hash browns, banana foster French toast, and of course fluffy biscuits with whipped cane butter. Breakfast served all day. Great lunch menu too. Delta Biscuit Company, embodying the soul, warmth, hospitality, and food of the Delta. Tower Drive, Monroe. Full menu at deltabiscuit.com. Life, love, biscuits.
H2Go Paddle is your headquarters for stand-up paddle boards and kayak. Visit our new location with over 3,000 square feet of outdoor gear at 2814 DeSoto Street in Monroe. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And if you have questions or just want to learn more about stand-up paddle boards, stop by the shop or give us a call at 325-8889. Follow us on Instagram, like our Facebook page, but get out on the water and see what you've been missing with H2Go.
Friends, this is Skip Russell, your #1 insurance agent in Ruston for the past 42 years. I want you to know that I would be proud to be your insurance agent. Come by and check out our new lower rates on automobile insurance. Call us at 255-5050 or come by our office at 105 Reynolds Drive in Ruston. That's behind Wendy's and Captain D's. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Nick Brown Show. Certainly appreciate you waking up early on this Saturday morning for 2 hours of caffeinated sports talk with the Nick Brown Show. Sounds a little different from you. We're on the road today, headed to Biloxi, Mississippi, as Louisiana Tech Bulldogs will face the Auburn Tigers in a little college baseball today at 1 o'clock at the Biloxi Shuckers Park. So look forward to that. So making the trip down to the coast of Mississippi today. But we'll be watching college football, and we're going to look at some big games today. Of course, we know.
So, Nick,
yes.
Are you driving? You said on the road. Are you driving and doing the show?
No. I'm at the hotel, Preacher Man.
Location.
We got in, on location. We rolled into Hattiesburg to the top. It was interesting because making the trip after the Bearcat game last night, had to make a decision where we were going to travel.
Did you stop in Hattiesburg to relieve yourself?
No, actually, it's funny because I was going to go either to McGee, Hattiesburg, or Biloxi, and I really was ready to drive the entire way. The wife drove from Rebel Stadium to a little outside of Clinton, Mississippi, home of the Mississippi College Choctaws. So stop there. Then I was going to go all the way, but if you get past Hattiesburg, you might as well go all the way to Biloxi. So we stopped in Hattiesburg to the top. We are in, and it's a game day. A lot of hotels full in Hattiesburg, but Southern Miss playing today. We'll look at all the schedule and of course Conference USA now back playing on a Saturday in the Sun Belt.
Let's stay on baseball just for a second. Rangers, amazing win, World Series. I followed them since 85 to 87 when I was in school out there, started following them. But Louisiana Tech, I mean, you saw the scrimmage against Mississippi State watching today. Just a quick early bird. Lane sounds excited about this team. Just a quick early bird word on Louisiana Tech baseball.
First of all, going back to looking at you following the Rangers, so you didn't follow the St. Louis Cardinals growing up?
Growing up, people in our town were mainly Cardinals fans in West Tennessee. There was no attachment to me. Later, I watched the Braves some because you could watch them on TV, but I really didn't adapt to team till we were out and you could go to games for like $5 because the Rangers were terrible. So that ended up being a lot of what we would do on the weekends. We'd get Rangers tickets and start going to games.
All right, so, and I think John Tabor can probably chase his fandom back, but that's a long time. You've been following the Texas Rangers. So congratulations to you on your team winning the World Series. Certainly enjoyed watching and had it on all the television. So that was great. Unfortunately, the Cubs, John Tabor and I will be miserable with the Cubs, but I still think the Cubs should stick with David Ross. But you're looking at college baseball with Lane Burroughs and Louisiana Tech traveling to watch the Bulldogs take on, of course, the Auburn Tigers today. Now, it's interesting because the Cabbage and I went to the NCAA regionals last year that Auburn participated in. And that was a unique regional. That, to me, that is a lot of fun. And I know you went to Omaha. You had your Tennessee Vols. Great trip. But the NCAA regionals last year with actually was a great family affair with Southern Miss, Auburn, Samford, and that fourth team escapes me. But I will think about it in just a minute. But I've watched a lot of practices from Lane Burroughs' squad, Louisiana Tech. They guys can hit the ball. They're solid in the outfield. They're solid in the infield. It's going to come down to, obviously, what it always does, that is pitching. And I think that's why you go on the road. You take advantage of the rules that the NCAA have, that you can have these fall scrimmages and play someone else. But I think it's going to be a solid year. I really do, just watching. It's going to be interesting to watch with Conference USA, the different teams you have, and really excited for the next season when Kennesaw State moves in. Solid baseball program, making the transition. I want to talk about the transition year for teams in college athletics this year as well in the show today. And we always love to hear from you at 888-993-7762. But, put me on the spot, how well they think to do. I think they're solid. I think you look at the transfer portal, Caston Furr out of Ruston High School, transferring over, it started at UNO.
Yeah, that's an exciting addition.
So it is a solid team, and I think they're going to have an exceptional year. I really do of Louisiana Tech. But look forward to watching them play against Auburn today down at, and it's going to be interesting. Been in the Shuckers Park, and it's really no stranger to Louisiana Tech or Lane Burroughs, but Conference USA has held their tournament there before. Then they've moved away from there, but it's a good little facility, kind of like the Blue Wahoos over at Pensacola, so look forward to that. But I think it's going to be a good year for Lane Burroughs and Louisiana Tech. Good. The difference between being a good year, they got everything in place to be really good. The difference between good and great is how well your pitching does, and everyone knows that. But it's solid. We can hit the baseball. Infield, outfield is solid. It's going to come down to avoiding injuries and how well your pitching staff does. That's going to be the limit for this Louisiana Tech squad. Looking at college football, interesting. And one thing you probably went under the radar with you is that Deion Sanders, he changed a little bit. And Pat Shurmur is now going to call plays. It's interesting because Sean Lewis has been stripped of his offensive coordinator play-calling duties. Now, Shurmur has to move to an on-field role, which you can do this in the NCAA, and they're going to have that co-offensive coordinator, which means no one's happy. But there's going to have to be an on-field assistant that would need to be removed to make room for Shurmur. Now, it's interesting, though, because you have to do that, because you have the guys in the booth, they can come down and call on the field. So watch Colorado after they lost to UCLA 28-16, but making that change. I don't think that's going to be a difference. I think you feel like you need to shake things up, but I don't think that is the case. I think you look at some of the teams that Colorado is playing, and they're just better. Of course, we're going to talk about the SEC with Lynn Scarborough from Lindy's Magazine at 8:30. Going to talk with Max Howell at 9:15. But love to hear from you on the text line. That is 888-993-7762. 888-993-7762.
LSU's pulling the upset today.
I think you're going to have a three-way tie for first place in the SEC West. I really do. Do I think it'll be short-lived? I don't think that Ole Miss goes in. This could be a trap game for Ole Miss. Ole Miss playing Texas A&M today. We'll talk with Lynn Scarborough about that. But LSU wins today, and then let's just say Ole Miss does defeat Texas A&M, and Ole Miss were to defeat Georgia, and everything was to stand pat the way they are. I think LSU would be your Western Division champion because you go head-to-head, each have a victory over each other, so that's out. Then you look, the way I trace the pecking order for who would represent the SEC West, you end up going like the third tier of criteria, and your rubric would send you to your non-divisional opponents. So if you go to your non-divisional opponents, in the SEC. Well, it's going to be bad for Ole Miss because they've got Georgia and Vanderbilt. So you look at who has your team played. If you're an LSU fan, who has LSU played from the East? If it were, now what I'm saying, if it were a three-way tie, and that requires LSU to win today, but if that were the case, you would go look, how well has Missouri done and how well has the other team from the East on LSU's schedule. What LSU has played Missouri, and they will play Florida next week. So how well Florida and Missouri do, if it were a three-way tie following all LSU's opponent. I'm going to take Ole Miss out of the equation, but really you look at that. So Ole Miss is going to be out because they have Vanderbilt and Georgia. That's going to be a wash. So how well the number of wins Missouri has, the number of wins Florida has, and then you look at Alabama's divisional opponent, they're going to have Tennessee on their schedule is one of their opponents, and then you look at their other. So I really think that LSU with a win today will represent the West, but they have Tennessee and Kentucky. So
I just look at that game, and it's like, Alabama played Texas A&M and Tennessee. Games were 26-20. Really, you take away the fumble, scoop, and score versus Tennessee, that game's 27-20. Texas A&M, Tennessee, neither one have great quarterback play, good defenses. LSU has great quarterback play. Texas carved them up with great quarterback play. Unless, if LSU's defense will, I think, load up against the run, play two deep safety, don't let Milroe, his big thing is those long throws. He is so accurate, make him throw underneath. I think they got a good chance today.
Well, no doubt that they do. And I want to tell you this, that's something I want to talk about with Lynn Scarborough in just a minute and talk about with your opinion as well. You think about it, when Jaden Daniels came over from the Pac-12, everyone talked about Pac-12 quarterback. Is he going to be too soft? Boy, Jaden Daniels, I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. And I'm going to pick on LSU fans just for a minute. There are a lot of teams in the Southeastern Conference that would love to have Jaden Daniels. The Auburn Tigers are certainly one of those.
He's a top 5 Heisman candidate.
I absolutely 100% agree with you, but it seems sometimes those that are closest in your corner are the ones that are against you the most, which to me, Jaden Daniels has been just absolutely amazing and great quarterback. And I'm going to be the first to admit, a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be making that move from the Pac-12. We have our connotations, what we think about the Pac-12, because in the Southeastern Conference, it just means more, but absolutely a great quarterback. I'd love to hear from you at 888-993-7762, 888-993-7762. Also, don't want to talk on the air, get your text in at 888-993-7762. That's 888-993-7762. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Lynn Scarborough going to join us right here on The Nick Brown Show.
This hour's weather brought to you by Louisiana Land Bank.
Hi, I'm Stephen Austin. I'm the president and CEO of Louisiana Land Bank. So a number of our staff have come from farms. They're involved in agriculture. Many of them still farm. They understand the business. They understand exactly what the farmers are going through, what their needs are. A borrower, they don't always know the process they're going to have to go through. Having someone that is an expert, that understands the process, that can hold their hand through the transaction is very important. If you're looking for land, come see us at Louisiana Land Bank. We're the experts in land financing.
I'm hashing over an ethical dilemma, so I think I could use some black coffee.
Of course, you can get black coffee and all your favorite coffee beverages at the Depot Coffee Shop. The Depot Coffee Shop is located at 211 West Railroad Avenue in downtown Ruston. The Depot Coffee Shop is coffee with a cause. The Depot Coffee Shop is open Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. and on Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 8 to 3. Call in your order at 232-7084 or visit the Depot Coffee Shop.
Morning.
Hey, you there? All right, give me a minute.
Yourself, what the hype's all about with Country Please.
Lynn, I got you.
Hello.
Yeah, you there? Hey, Lynn, you with me?
Yes.
All right, good deal.
Something in the background.
Yeah, that's our station music. I'm doing something different today.
Go ahead, schedule.
Okay, I can hear you.
All right, a good deal. I can hear you as well.
105 Route 5 next to Skip Russell State Farm in Ruston. What are you waiting for? Now's a great time to give them a call. Let fellas say
So I'm just going to load the cars I'm talking.
48. Walk into a...
Is the IRS coming after you for unpaid taxes you can't afford to pay? This special notice is for you. The
What?
IRS has made it easier to resolve your tax debt with special IRS tax relief programs, including the Fresh Start Initiative. These historic IRS programs are designed to help taxpayers like you resolve their tax debt and may qualify you for significant reductions. Call Community Tax to see if you qualify. They're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau with 4.5 stars on Google, and they're top rated by Consumer
I just
Affairs.
forgot about it.
Now's your chance for significant relief. Free yourself from your IRS nightmare and avoid wage garnishment, liens on your bank account, your pension on your home, or even your Social Security income. If you can't afford to pay your back taxes, if you haven't filed in years, call the Community Tax Helpline now at 800-251-9531. Solve your IRS problems today. Call for your free consultation. 800-251-9531. 800-251-9531.
Thanks for tuning in to the Nick Brown Show. On the air, online, and for Yak.
Welcome back to the Nick Brown Show. You hear that college fight song? That means we're going to Hueytown, Alabama's favorite son. That is Lynn Scarborough from Lindy's Magazine. Lynn, a trooper, a little bit under the weather. Lynn, appreciate you joining us this morning.
Yeah, glad to be on. I have had bronchitis, and anybody who's listened to your show in the last couple of weeks knows I either haven't been there or would have been sounding better if I wasn't. So I'm glad mine's getting a little bit better, and I hope I hadn't transmitted anything across the phone lines to anybody.
Well, I will tell you this. Side note, those who've listened to the show for years know that you're a big part of the church choir, and it's getting that time for Christmas season. So I know that has been a disappointment to you.
Yeah, I've missed a couple of practices, but I'll start picking it back up on Wednesday night. Hopefully, I'll start doing that.
Let's look at, first of all, I want to get your thoughts and opinions. Number one, sign stealing across college football, the mess that is Michigan right now. Of course, if you look at the rule book, there's absolutely no penalty associated with stealing signs. And then last week, Zach Arnett from Mississippi State actually, the implication that perhaps Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers were stealing signs. I don't know if you had a chance. I don't know if you heard that or not last week.
No, I mean, I didn't. I mean, we've been, we've been putting out the Texas Rangers special edition magazine, and we got the bad luck that they went out to Arizona and won every ball game, which totally ended up, our publication ended up with 80 pages, larger than we thought it would be initially, and we had to go flat-footed from having nothing done in 3 days to have a magazine done. And we're not really counting on once it was a 1-to-1 series, wasn't working our plan according to Texas sweeping. So if anything much has happened except with the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks, I have not been able to be very involved in it. With that being said, you and I have talked on the air before. I just don't get it, the importance. I mean, I understand but hadn't sign stealing. I mean, of course, I know the Houston Astros, got in some trouble about that a few World Series ago. But I mean, I remember when the day, and I was, started doing my journalism coverage in the 1970s, really, like the 60s, but more so in the 70s, and that's when Texas and Houston and Alabama and several were running the bone, and they might as well have just said, okay, y'all, I'm going to give it to Johnny Musso over here, and he's going over left tackle, so y'all stop him if you can. And, of course, they couldn't. And when Sullivan and Beasley were playing, the Auburn people in South Alabama that listened to this, I was covering Pat Sullivan and Terry Beasley, and basically it was, okay, I'm either going to throw it, Sullivan's either going to throw it to Dick Schmaltz or Terry Beasley. Y'all cover it if you can. And, of course, they couldn't. And so it's usually, I grew up when it was, I'm going to do the best I can going up against the best you can. We know that's what's going to happen. Let's see who's going to win. And that's obviously not the thought pattern anymore. And I just don't think it's that big a deal if I've got somebody sitting across the stadium using his cell phone to take a picture. If I'm going to win or lose a game according to that, that seems a little bit of a embarrassing admission, I guess, to make. But if it's the rule, it's like I said on another show, I may think that a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit is absurd. However, if I go out and go 60 in that 40-mile zone, it doesn't matter if I think it's not significant. There's no traffic lights and no entering roads, and there's no. However, if that's the law, then I need to do that. If I don't, then I've broken it, and there's punishment for that. So if they broke the rules, then they need to be held accountable for breaking the rules.
Absolutely. Talking with Lynn Scarborough this morning on the Nick Brown Show. Lynn, let's go into detail just for a minute because I know that you were not stressed out. That's what you knew when you went into journalism. And by the way, the Preacher Man is a huge Texas Rangers fan when he went to seminary.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, back in 1985. He was going to seminary and became a Texas Rangers fan. So he was certainly excited, but that did put you under the 8 ball. You would have much rather this series go more games.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you've got if it does, then you've got the possibility of having some other activity going on in your life that is not going to be going on if you've got that deadline. But yeah, you're talking the story I told about my mother, and yeah, it's Lynn knew what deadline journalism was when you got into it, and that's true, and it's just how it is. It's the way we do with every one of these that we do with the Super Bowl, with the college football championships, and these things for which we do special editions. It's you've got to be prepared for both teams to win, but with the Super Bowl and the college football playoff and some basketball stuff, whenever we do those specials, you have a time frame. You know that they're going to play it on Monday the whatever day or Sunday evening whatever day, and that the two teams are going to do it then. And you know what your deadline is and what you got to do. But with the World Series, it's not. Because it can go 4 games and not take but 5 days, or it can go 7 games and take 10 days. And you don't, and other obligations that you have, like writing columns and preparing college newsletters and, other things that you've got to do journalistically, those don't stop because the World Series is being played. And if it turns out that you've got multiple things going on the same day and, a 4-man staff, then that's what your situation is.
Let's jump.
So the World Series, among the special editions that we do, is unique in that the teams and the time frames and the uncertainty of when it's going to end, as opposed to the others, for sure when they're going to be played and when they're going to end.
Absolutely. Let's jump into talking with Lynn Scarborough from Lindy's Magazine. Lynn, let's jump into this week's games, and I think this is certainly a trap game for the Ole Miss Rebels. They have the Georgia Bulldogs next week, Texas A&M, the Aggies with Jimbo Fisher, Bobby Petrino as offensive coordinator, coming into Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi for an 11 a.m. kickoff, Texas A&M versus Ole Miss.
Yeah, I like Ole Miss in the game. Texas A&M is another disappointing season. They got to play at LSU. I suspect that's a loss. They got to play Ole Miss today. I suspect that's a loss. How many have they lost already? 3 or 4?
Well, Texas A&M, they've dropped. Of course, we know which games that they lost to Miami in that one, 48-33. They've lost to Alabama, 26-20, and they've lost to Tennessee. So they've lost 3 ball games on the year.
Okay, so they got, if they lose today, then they're going to have 5 losses. That's better than the 7 losses they had last year, but it's certainly not what they were expecting. And I've seen things, talked to a couple of A&M folks. It's not inconceivable that they would come up with the preposterous amount of money that it would take to buy Jimbo Fisher and his staff out and do it. Again, I heard nothing official on that, but when when they paid Jimbo the gigantic amount of money they did to get him started a number of years ago, it was to knock off Alabama, LSU, and Auburn. It was not to continue to let every SEC championship game for the West be played by LSU, Auburn, and Alabama. And A&M still had never gone to a championship game. And every year they're supposed to have a great recruiting class, and this is going to be the year, and they end up with 5 losses or 7 losses or whatever. I really don't think even the zillionaire people from A&M that agreed to this deal with Jimbo were thinking that they were going to be bringing him in to continue being 4th or 5th in their own division. And it looks like to me that's what's happening again. And Ole Miss has still got something to play for. I mean, if LSU knocks off Alabama, then, of course, that happens after the A&M Ole Miss game. But if LSU knocks off Alabama, then the Mississippi-Georgia game really is significant, because you could have the Ole Miss, LSU, and Alabama each with 1 loss in the division, and each one of them having won one of those. And in a 3-way tie under that, I think you told me before what it looked like it was, but a 3-way tie in the Western Division is very possible if LSU wins today.
Okay, I've been looking. All right, I want to stop you right there, because you can correct me. You're the dean of the Southeastern Conference. You know the rules a lot better than I do. I've looked at all the possible tiebreaker scenarios, and I think it would go down to your non-divisional opponents. So, because they would have head-to-head over each other, and so I would put. It would then go to, you look at who Alabama has played from the East, who Ole Miss has played from the East, and who LSU has played from the East. Well, you look at Alabama, they've played Tennessee, and then they will play, Kentucky. So Alabama, Kentucky. Right. Ole Miss is going to be left out in the cold because they have a wash. It would take their victory over Georgia, which would hand Georgia their first loss in forever, but their other opponent is Vanderbilt. So that would, to me, would take Ole Miss out of the equation, and LSU.
Well, if they've beaten Georgia, then they're going to be the highest guy in the equation. It'll be the first time Georgia's lost in 26 games. And but now, of course, if they lose to Georgia, then it's their second loss because they lost to Alabama.
Right, and it would be a 2-way tie, and it would be LSU holding hit. This is going, assuming they win the rest of their games, Alabama defeating Auburn in the Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare. But if it is a 3-way tie, if you go look at the rule book, it goes to, you go through all the criteria, go through the rubric, search down the level. I believe it would come. It doesn't matter, Lynn, how great Georgia is. You're going to take Georgia and Vanderbilt and look at the records of your non-divisional opponents, which Vanderbilt is not going to win a game in the league this year unless they defeat Auburn today. So I think you have to look at how well you look at LSU's opponents would be Florida, and who's the second divisional opponent for non-division Eastern opponent for LSU? But Alabama with Tennessee and Kentucky. I believe LSU has Florida and
Missouri.
Yeah, Florida and Missouri. So I think you're looking at, if it's a 3-way tie, I think LSU is going to represent the West in the conference championship game.
Well, if that's the criteria, I would agree with you. Of course, you still got some significant games to be played, including doesn't Missouri and Tennessee still have to play each other?
Tennessee and Missouri will play each other. That will be next weekend. We will know next weekend, and then they play Georgia. So yes, Tennessee plays Missouri November 11th, Georgia November 18th.
Yeah, so there you go. So that would whether or not Missouri beats Tennessee, whether or not Georgia does, would have a bearing on how Missouri and Georgia would look as comparable Eastern Division opponents. So, hey, and I don't know if people really thought about it, but you've got, and I don't have the schedule in front of me. You may. I'll try to do it from memory. But there are a lot of teams in the country right now that have won either 4 or 5 games with either 3 or 4 games remaining that are on the bubble for even qualifying for a bowl. And those include Florida, South Carolina, Arkansas, Auburn, Mississippi State, Kentucky. There's at least 6 teams, and I may left somebody out. Vanderbilt I didn't include because they've got 7 losses. Arkansas I did. They've only got 6, and they play Florida today. But Florida's next 3 ball games after Arkansas are at Missouri, at LSU, and Florida State. which of those three games does anybody think Florida's going to win? Well, in my mind, it's 0, and they've only got 5 wins. So they have to beat Arkansas today, in my opinion, to realistically qualify for a bowl game. On the flip side, Arkansas has to win today for the Auburn game to mean anything, because this will be their 7th loss. And so, so right there, you've got Florida and Arkansas playing today with both of them needing a win to still be in a fairly decent situation for going to a bowl game. Kentucky and Mississippi State, I think, are both in the same position. I think Mississippi State's won 4 and Kentucky's won 5 maybe. So they've got to have more wins and can't take losses, and they play each other. South Carolina, I think's got 6 losses. So you can run down their schedule. One of them is Clemson, but then they got 3 other games. It's not a great year for Clemson, but a win over Clemson is still not a sure thing to play at South Carolina. Carolina does have the advantage of playing the rest of the games at home, but they're not all games that you would automatically say are winnable.
Hey, Lynn, would you say probably most disappointing this year in the league is probably between South Carolina, I think you had 3rd in the East, and Arkansas, who you had 4th in the East, but potentially 2nd best quarterback in the SEC? I mean, I know we have probably have some Arkansas listeners in the area, but those have got to be 2 extremely, especially Arkansas. I just thought Arkansas would be tough this year, and they've just looked horrendous.
Well, they have, but if you, and I agree with you. If they lose today, they're not going to a bowl game. But check on their losses and see how many of them have been by more than 1 score. I mean, they have some so close to winning, and you got to figure, how do you go on the road and score 30 or whatever it was against LSU and lose by 3, and go on the road to Tuscaloosa and score 3 touchdowns and lose by 3, but then you play Mississippi State at home and you only score 3. And
yeah, but to me, that's the disappointing point, is just that, I mean, the offense at home is just like, wow. I just expected more out of KJ Jefferson.
Yeah, well,
I know it's a patchwork line and stuff, but still.
Yeah, no question about it. We had them, I think, 4th in the division, but they look stronger than that. I had a good friend, Nick, and I've talked about this, that covers Arkansas very closely, and he told me at the start of the year that they're overrated. That they don't have the depth and they don't have the line on the offensive or defensive line they're going to wear down in the ball games, and that's basically what's happened. So he nailed that. Arkansas still got a shot. If they win the rest of their games, they go to a bowl, but they got to win the rest of them. And so yeah, I would say that them, and hey, and with South Carolina, we had people picking them 3rd best in their division, because they're having Spencer Rattler and them pulling in some good recruits, and it's been an embarrassing season for them. And their coach breaking his foot by kicking a wall or something doesn't help their perception. So you've got that many teams, Mississippi State and Kentucky. Look at the 2 of those guys. State's got 4 wins. They got a game coming up against Ole Miss that you got to figure they'll lose. And I don't remember who else Mississippi State's got to play, but they have very little wiggle room. And then and Kentucky finds itself in a similar situation. It's just unusual. And I may wait till after the games this weekend and write a column about it, because I don't think people are all concentrating at the top. And, who's going to win the West out of those 3 teams, and could anybody catch Georgia if it makes any difference now? But nobody's looking at the SEC's got 10 bowl bids, and I've just named 6 teams that may not qualify to go to a bowl. I mean, it finds itself in a better position than any of those other teams I named, assuming they can beat Vanderbilt today, and they may not. Hey, New Mexico State is not a bad football team. It's not the New Mexico State that we used to wonder if they were going to be number 130 in the country. They've got a good quarterback. They've won some ball games, and it's not an automatic that New Mexico State will roll in and Auburn will win that game. If Auburn were to lose to Vanderbilt and Arkansas, then Auburn's hope is gone, and New Mexico State could beat them. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's more likely that Auburn will beat Vanderbilt and beat New Mexico State and qualify for a bowl than that some of these other teams we're naming will qualify for a bowl.
So, Lynn, would you say your two surprise teams are your two preseason sixth-place picks, Auburn, who I think will go at least 7-5, and Mizzou, I think worst case will go 9-3?
Yeah, I think on the positive side, you'd have to say that making the assumption that Missouri only loses 2 more ball games and making the assumption that Auburn does win 2 more ball games, then yeah, I would say that Missouri and Auburn are probably the best surprise teams. On the other hand, if they were to lose them, then take that away. And the disappointing teams, I would absolutely say South Carolina and I'm just thinking about it. Texas A&M has got to fall in there. If I'm right that they lose to LSU and lose to Ole Miss, then you got to stick A&M in there too. I mean,
you must have known a little something
because Petrino with the hopes that they might squeak in above 500.
You must have known a little something because you preseason picked them 5th. You had your doubts.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If teams have set up a track record of disappointment, and you haven't seen anything significant to change it, then why are you gonna expect something different to happen?
You mentioned quite a bit, and you're right. You always say that you don't have it in front of you, then you nail the records absolutely perfect. And appreciate you giving love to New Mexico State. Jerry Kill, very good coach. Love him. Coached in the MAC. Moved his way up to Minnesota. Health issues, of course, forced him to step down. Now restarted his career at New Mexico State. But let's look at more of the games today, Lynn. That one you mentioned, of course, Auburn going to Vanderbilt is one that Hugh Freeze.
Not won a conference game. Auburn goes in there today and may be Vanderbilt's best chance to win one. Arkansas hadn't won a conference game. Auburn goes into Fayetteville next week, and maybe Arkansas's best chance to win one. So Auburn could be the season breaker or the season maker in the next 2 ball games, playing against teams that have a grand total of 0 SEC wins. Because when you look at who they've got to play, beating Auburn's probably the best shot that they've got. And like Preacher Man just said, in evaluating Arkansas's losses, look at Auburn's. They're the only team that stayed within a touchdown of Georgia in the last year and a half. I think Missouri was a team last year that stayed within 8 or 9 points of them. And I mean, with 3 minutes left against Auburn this year, it's a tied ball game. So that game could have gone either way. And then Ole Miss, they lose by a touchdown. And so you lose by 1 touchdown to Ole Miss, and 1 to Georgia. They got beat to death by LSU. And A&M beat them. It was down. I think Auburn might have been ahead at the half, but anyhow, all losses are not the same, but they are in the 1-loss column, and you've got Vanderbilt and Arkansas that very much will look ahead and say, well, hopefully we can knock off Auburn.
All right, I'm gonna take a hot take on it. You look at it, evaluate the performance of Zach Arnett at Mississippi State in his first year. We know took over last year after the untimely passing of Mike Leach. Mississippi State 4-4. You got to see him up close last week versus Auburn. 1-4 in the conference. How tough of a job is this? And is Zach Arnett going to have patience out of the Mississippi State fan base?
I hope he will. I think he will. He's got a loss. I mean, he's got a win in his resume this year that looks a lot stronger right now than it did when he got it, is Arizona. Arizona is not a bad team. They could beat UCLA today. And I think they may have, if they win today, I think they may already qualify for a bowl game. And at the time that Mississippi State beat Arizona, it wasn't that big a deal. But that's a better win for them than it looked like it was at the time when they got the win. And I hope, of course, they beat Arkansas, but then Arkansas couldn't score. Who else do they play? I know they play Ole Miss. Who else do they play?
Well, Mississippi State, of course, this week, Mississippi State, you look at their schedule, and the Bulldogs, you mentioned they're 4-4. They're 5th in the SEC West, but they still have on the schedule Kentucky today, at Texas A&M. Okay, let's say they drive to Kentucky and Texas A&M. The Golden Eagles to the top where I am today. They're going to host the Golden Eagles November 18th, and then Ole Miss. So a Magnolia State battle the last 2 weeks of the season. So out of the 4 games that they have remaining on their schedule, I mean, you look at the schedule, as you see, one guaranteed win, and that would be over the Golden Eagles of Southern Miss.
Do they play at A&M?
They do.
Then I would say the Kentucky win today for Mississippi State is critical, and the Mississippi State win is critical, but it's also critical for Kentucky. Kentucky plays Louisville. They play Tennessee. They play Alabama, and they play Mississippi State. Isn't that it?
That's it. That is correct.
They have South Carolina left.
That's South Carolina. Okay. Now, South Carolina, they could beat South Carolina. And Kentucky's 5-3.
Correct.
Okay.
And Devin Leary, their quarterback, showed up last week for the first time all year. Looked great, 370 yards passing. So
yeah.
Does that kid show up again today at Mississippi State?
Boy, you got a lot of teams playing today that desperately need a win in order to feel good about their postseason chances. And that's the point I was making when I started this conversation, and it's even more so than I realized when I started it, as we're sitting here thinking about.
And then you've got the two biggest games so far of the year in the SEC today, LSU, Alabama, and then who would have thought, Missouri at Georgia. Georgia's got three tough ones coming up after kind of a cushy schedule with Mizzou, Tennessee, and then Ole Miss.
Yeah. Nobody, I mean, I know Auburn did, but other than Auburn, nobody stays close to Georgia. And I just may have them, I may not be giving them enough respect, which they have earned so far, but I think Georgia wins that ball game. I don't know if they cover the line. I saw a 16-point line. That's probably too big, but I think Georgia wins that ball game. I think Alabama, I know that would be popular to the LSU folks in the audience right now, but I think Alabama wins that. LSU's defense, it has looked better the last couple of weeks, but the three of us and 8 strangers could look reasonably good as a defensive backfield going up against Auburn's passing game, and so they did look better there. But look at who it's gone against, and then they've got, if I'm right, they've got a couple of defensive starters that are missing. Having a porous pass defense and missing 2 of your defensive starters is not the best formula to be going into Tuscaloosa in the game that whichever team wins the game probably is in the cat seat for going to the SEC championship. So again, and then plus Alabama's got a revenge factor from last year from having lost LSU. I will say this.
Go ahead.
LSU and Auburn. Nick Saban's been at Alabama 16 years, and LSU's record against them, I believe, is 5-12, and Auburn's record against them, I believe, is 5-11, and no other team has beaten Alabama more than twice in 16 years, but LSU and Auburn, while beating one of your major opponents just 5 times, while the other team has won either 11 or 12 times, that's not great. But when you consider it's supposed to be in the heyday of Alabama history since Bear Bryant, and no other team, hardly ever beats them. LSU and Auburn beat Alabama reasonably regular, about 1 out of every 3 times, compared to anybody else. So LSU has got a tradition of not, getting awed by Alabama and not having a chance to win. It's traditionally that they do have a chance to win and beat them more than anybody else does, except for Auburn. But with that being said, you're not going to roll into Alabama and win most times. Alabama's still got an outside shot at the college football playoff if they can win the rest of their games and continue getting the good luck of people ahead of them losing, and that could well happen today. So I like Alabama to win.
Well, I do have to ask you about this one game, and that is I know how close you are to the program in Jacksonville State, a battle of the Gamecocks in Columbia, South Carolina. I don't know if Jacksonville State is good enough to win. I know they're good enough to cover the 16-point spread over Shane Beamer and the South Carolina Gamecocks, but a battle of the Gamecocks at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina.
Hey, Jacksonville State could win that game. This is Jacksonville State playing on a high, being in a position to finish first or second in their league. They can't qualify for the postseason because of that stupid rule. But this is a good Jacksonville State team. I think they're 7-2, and I think their only league loss is Liberty. Well, you get South Carolina at a situation where they can't afford to lose another ball game. Period. Aren't they 2-6?
They are. They're 2-6, and Shane Beamer with a broken foot.
They have
Yes.
to beat everybody, including Jacksonville State, and you're catching them when they're down. When I guess their coach is still hobbling on crutches. So no, I mean I like South Carolina to win the game, but with all due respect to me being an SEC fan, it tickled me to death that Jacksonville State could win it.
Hey, Lynn, maybe one last question for you.
Sure.
Got a text in from Brett, and this is the same question I would have. He says, when do you expect the Texas World Series Lindy's to be available in stands? Can you order it online?
Well, yes, you can order it online. It actually is at the printer right now. This is theoretical. Let's just say they get it finished printed by tomorrow. Then they'll box it, get it out on the trucks to the distributors. I would say in some areas it would start hitting newsstands probably the middle to latter part of this coming week. But it's primarily will just be in the Texas audience area. So I would say the safest thing to do would either call Lindy's or go in online to order one. And it's not an unlimited supply. We won't go back to press on it. So anybody that is a Texas Rangers fan, I'd say call us or order it online so you make sure to get it. Of course, I wrote 2 or 3 things in it and read the whole piece. It's a good magazine. It's strong if you're a Rangers fan. So I would encourage anybody to do that.
Well, Lynn, safe travels to you today. Good luck with your bronchitis and your singing. We hope to hear your Christmas concert. I appreciate you joining us. Safe travels and enjoy college football today.
All right, guys. Talk to y'all soon.
That was Lynn Scarborough from Lindy's Magazine. We're going to take a break. You're listening to The Nick Brown Show on the Nick Brown Show Network. We'll be right back after this break.
Don't let low back pain ruin your football or hunting season. If sitting in the deer stand or in the stadium gives you some aches and pains, the spinal bones in your lower back are misaligned. Sitting causes compression of the nerves and discs. Call Dr. Bob Rendina at Chiro Network. Chiropractic treatments work to realign and mobilize your spine so it works with you. Call Dr. Bob at Chiro Network in Ruston and feel good again.
At Citizens Progressive Bank, we're big on what matters most. CPB is big on checking. Which checking account is right for you? Personal, commercial, or student? CPB is big on savings. Grow your money with us, whether you're saving for a rainy day, the holidays, or retirement. CPB is big on loans, where we offer a variety of loans to meet all your personal needs. And CPB is big on home mortgage. Let us help you purchase, refinance your home. CPB is big on what matters most. What matters most is you. Check them out online, cpbonline.com.
Work out when you want to at All Hours Fitness. All Hours Fitness offers a women's-only workout area, co-ed workout area, and daily child care. All Hours Fitness has a well-lit parking area and 24-hour fingerprint access. Staff on site from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. All Hours Fitness offers tanning and hydro massage beds. Join All Hours Fitness. Single membership $19, $29 for a couple, and $39 for the entire family. All Hours is located at 1506 Commerce Street in Ruston. H2Go Paddle is your headquarters for stand-up paddle boards and kayaks. Visit our new location with over 3,000 square feet of outdoor gear at 2814 DeSoto Street in Monroe. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And if you have questions or just want to learn more about stand-up paddleboards, stop by the shop or give us a call at 325-8889. Follow us on Instagram, like our Facebook page, but get out on the water and see what you've been missing with H2Go. You know what that sound means. It's time for the Pillowy Fluff Delicious Daylight Donut. Go visit them at 108 Monticello Avenue in Ruston, just north of I-20. They're open Monday, 5:30 to 10:30 a.m., Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 to 11:30 a.m., and on Saturday and Sunday from 6 to 12. Daylight Donuts of Ruston, proudly supporting the Nick Brown Show for the last 10 years. Ask for a wedding cake-filled donut. It's the Nick Brown Show favorite.
Friends, this is Skip Russell, your #1 insurance agent in Ruston for the past 42 years. I want you to know that I would be proud to be your insurance agent. Come by and check out our new lower rates on automobile insurance. Call us at 255-5050 or come by our office at 105 Reynolds Drive in Ruston. That's behind Wendy's and Captain D's. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Nick Brown Show. Certainly appreciate you waking up early this morning for a Nick Brown Show on location, coming to you from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Preacher Man and I will look at action across Sunbelt and Conference USA in just a minute as they're moving.
What's on the buffet? What's on the buffet at the Hattiesburg Hotel?
Well, to be honest with you, I just had breakfast delivered to me in the room. I haven't left the room this morning, so I'll have a little healthy yogurt.
Healthy?
Well, yogurt, peanut butter, cinnamon roll, biscuit.
Okay.
So we got to balance it out just a little bit. But you mentioned earlier we talked about that, and a lot of great high school teams. Perhaps we should have a high school brag portion of the Nick Brown Show. I know the area where you're from in Tennessee is very strong.
10-1. We're 10-1, ranked number 4. So.
All right. Here's the thing. This is an anomaly. But you look now, the Nick Brown Show is on Smashes 94.5 in Jackson, Alabama. The Jackson Aggies are undefeated. The Ruston Bearcats are undefeated. And I guess McKenzie Rebels is 10-1.
We are defending state champs, 10-1. So good years, good things there.
So a good year for all of us here on the Nick Brown Show as you look at but high school football. And you mentioned that, the atmosphere last night. And just the thing about high school football that makes it so special is the involvement from the number of people. It's not just the players. And then you look, and last night, just an electric scene at Don Chow's Field at Rebel Stadium, just a great atmosphere for high school football. And I was watching, and I know that John is for this, and I've watched 8-man football. I have, we are a little bit spoiled in what the coverage of sports that we have at the Brown household. And whether it's I really have to let the National Federation of High School Network expire, but it automatically renews. So I am, sometimes when there's nothing on television, I will watch 8-man football from the Dakotas. And that is something, will it gain in popularity? You look, because you wonder, on one hand, you think maybe the schools are so small that they should perhaps close or consolidate. And we know that those are the identity, the smaller schools, that is the identity of the town or village. And the prospect of some 8-man football coming maybe to Louisiana. Not sure if it's on in Alabama. I'd love to hear from you at 888-993-7762, 888-993-7762. But 8-man football, Preacher Man, have you ever watched it?
I've not. When I was in Texas, that was kind of the first I had, heard about it. I did see a game or two on television, when it got into the playoffs. But, to me, you could probably easily have about a 16-team league in Louisiana. Poor Sicily Island could keep football going if they had 8-man. I mean, you think about a school like Ringgold, would they be a lot more competitive in 8-man? A lot of your B schools in Louisiana might be able to play 8-man football. So, I mean, I think it could be an exciting thing. It is fun to watch. I mean, there's definitely a lot of action.
Certainly love to hear your opinions at 888-993-7762. Going to look at some schedules in college football today across the Sun Belt and Conference USA in just a minute. But, you hate to see schools basically shut down their program numbers. But when you have you're going to take more than 13 people to play high school football. And that's just the state of affairs. That's the way that it is. And so you hate to see that at some programs to drop the sport altogether. But perhaps maybe 8-man football coming to the Deep South, and not really sure where all they play it, have watched it, but mainly, again, like I said, watch from the Dakotas. But let's look at schedules today, Preacher Man, in the Sun Belt. Who do we have matching up in the Sun Belt today? Because I know they'll
Well,
be
in the Sun Belt today, you've got Louisiana. I always mess up. ULL going to Arkansas State. I think Arkansas State, a little surprising the way Butch Jones, got hammered early in the year. He had that breakdown crying loss early in the year when they got beat 73-0 by Oklahoma. So ULL going into Arkansas State. James Madison undefeated 8-0 going against 6-2 Georgia State on the road. So that's going to be a big ball game. Coastal Carolina, Old Dominion 5-3 going against 4-4 Old Dominion. Probably two teams that have been disappointing this year after promising start, at least for ULM. ULM 2-6 going on the road to Southern Miss 1-7. Never thought I'd see Southern Miss struggle like they have this year. Georgia Southern 6-2 versus Texas State 5-3, so good ball game there. And then Marshall and App State, kind of a regional rivalry, 4-4 playing each other. Marshall going on the road to App State, and then on Thursday night, Troy bit the big win over South Alabama.
Yeah, and on that game with Coastal Carolina, don't think that Grayson McCall, quarterback, entered the transfer portal, ended up remaining at Coastal Carolina. Not sure if he is going to play today.
Yeah, that was a tough injury.
Who do we have on the phone line?
We got a call from Jim on the line.
Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, my friends.
Good morning, Jim.
Well, y'all got to quit eating them shrooms, man. I'm telling you. You ain't going to go to Tuscaloosa tonight and beat Alabama. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry for you.
Tigers. Go Tigers.
Bama Jim, tell us why Bama's going to win that game, Bama Jim.
Because I done tell you this once. Ain't the two things LSU's got to worry about: Bama's defense and their defense. I mean, we're going to score points. Don't worry about us. We're going to score our share of points. But boy, Tidwell may have his best game against them freshmen y'all got back there in that defensive backfield. I don't see how y'all think you're going to stop them. Because we got a pair of wheels too now. They ain't scared.
Who would you think who has the better quarterback today, Alabama or LSU?
It depends on how they perform, Nick. I guess if you looked at the paperwork, it'd be that Daniels boy. But it's what he does now.
Well,
Well,
I'm going to calm you down just a bit because John Tabor will say it's just because I hate Louisiana, and but I actually I don't think at the time in the 10 years that you've been calling the show, little backstory, Bama Jim lived in Louisiana, but he's traveled, lived in the state of Alabama, lived in South Carolina. Bama Jim, I'm actually now moved to Texas, so I appreciate him continuing to follow the show. Bama Jim, I'm actually going to agree with you. I don't think LSU is going to win tonight either. I think that Alabama, we've looked in because when you start going through the scenario this week, I had no fewer than 14 emails and texts explaining the three-way tie for should LSU defeat Alabama and it be a three-way tie in the SEC West. And when all that comes out, that let me know one thing. Alabama's going to win the game. There's not going to be a tie. But we are going to get Max Howell's opinion a little later and go more in-depth with that matchup. But Bama Jim, I want you to write this down. Go to Aledo, write this down, that Alabama's going to win the game. And I'm going to ask you, how did Aledo do in high school football last night?
What do you think, Nick?
I think they won by a considerable margin. And Bama Jim, I promise you, if I ever go to another wedding in the middle of the state of Texas, I did not realize I was literally 5 miles from your house. I will certainly stop by and see you.
Yeah.
Bama Jim,
I get no respect.
No, we love you. Hey, Bama Jim, John Tabor and I will forever be grateful to you the day you brought us a nice cold beverage when we were out at a baseball park in the middle of Louisiana summer. Man, you have a great Saturday and enjoy college football. Appreciate you listening to the show and calling in.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
You can call.
Yeah, Bama Jim's probably excited too for Monday night because the Tar Heels tip off Monday night against Powerhouse Radford. So it's hard to believe basketball kicks off Monday too.
I want to break down this game though with Max Howell. We're going to take a break. You're listening to the Nick Brown Show on the Nick Brown Show Network. We'll be right back after this break.
RS Tigers.
ProVision Security, preserving your past, protecting your future. Cameras, doorbell cameras, systems you can control all from your smartphone. Security systems with low monthly monitoring starting at $14.99. ProVision Security is more than security. Sound systems, hanging your flat screen TV, speakers in your ceiling, even Wi-Fi systems. ProVision Security, 314 East Georgia in Ruston. Call Michael at 773-3703. Check him out on Facebook, ProVision Security.
Don't let low back pain ruin your football or hunting season. If sitting in the deer stand or in the stadium gives you some aches and the spinal bones in
Benedict with Kentucky Legend smoked ham, omelets, duck fat hash browns, banana foster French toast, and of course fluffy biscuits with whipped cane butter. Breakfast served all day, great lunch menu too. Delta Biscuit Company, embodying the soul, warmth, hospitality, and food of the Delta. Tower Drive, Monroe. Full menu at deltabiscuit.com. Life, love, biscuits.
Friends, this is Skip Russell, your #1 insurance agent in Ruston for the past 42 years. I want you to know that I would be proud to be your insurance agent. Come by and check out our new lower rates on automobile insurance. Call us at 255-5050 or come by our office at 105 Reynolds Drive in Ruston. That's behind Wendy's and Captain D's. Thank you.
Now, back to the Nick Brown Show.
Welcome back to the Nick Brown Show. Now you hear that college fight song. That means we're going to Max Howell. Good morning, Max. How are you?
Do you have him, Nick?
Oh, I did not call him. I'll give him a call right now.
Just a second.
No, I got him.
Hello.
Playoffs are going on.
Good morning, Max. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you guys this morning?
Man, we are doing great. We're now joined by Max Howell. And Max, I'm going to jump right in because we've had a lot of texts and calls this morning about the LSU-Alabama game. I want to know from a coach's perspective how you break down this game.
Well, we know first thing, LSU wouldn't hire just a coach to beat Alabama. They hired Pete Jenkins in the middle of the season, right before they played Missouri. And so Pete and I go back. We started together at Troy back in the '60s. He's probably the best defensive line coach in the country, and I don't think there's any doubt he knows everything that Nick Saban knows about defense. So I think it's going to, present itself as a really compelling football game. So I like Alabama playing at night in Tuscaloosa. I was there the last time I believe LSU played them at night. LSU won that ball game 9-6. So it'll be a dogfight. But I think Alabama's improved tremendously since the beginning of the season, and I think they'll stop the offense of LSU. They'll put a couple of spies on the quarterback, and I think it'll end up Alabama winning. Probably a close one, but Alabama comes away with a win, and I think in that one.
All right, talking with Max Howell this morning. Max, first of all, I got to tell you, congratulations, Troy, with a big victory over South Alabama. I know you were watching that one.
Yeah, I did. They started off slow though. Now I was talking ugly to the TV when I was watching the first one. I liked it so much they replayed it up here on Friday night, so I watched it again just to be sure.
Well,
they got a good win out of that one.
It was interesting because as I was watching the game, and you're right, they did start out slow. I was thinking about, wonder what Max Howell thoughts are about this game right now. And I will be had South Alabama won that game, regardless of what time it ended, I was going to go outside and give you a call and kind of needle you just a little bit. But because your Trojans ended up winning the game, I did not place that call. Max, you've been around the game for a long time, going from high school in the state of Florida. Boy, the great teams you've had there. I want you to describe just for a minute, you know John Tabor, our board op out at Sports Talk 97.7, would always tell me whenever I would come in the studio very mad, he would tell me, Brownie, you're letting them live in your head rent-free. And I'm going to go to Clemson, South Carolina. Tabor is good at giving advice. He doesn't say much, but he gives great advice. And you get, John is the type of guy that when he gives advice, you get mad, Max, because you know he's right. And you don't want him to be right. So he sits there the entire time, never says anything, and then he'll just hit you right there. But let's talk about Dabo Swinney and that ugly scene out at Clemson, South Carolina. And I will tell you this, Tabor and I talked about this, and he said, Brownie, if that ever happened to you, I would shut the mic off on the caller. But, man, to describe that, you just can't do that.
I think that's guilt in Dabo's mind, if you want to know the truth. He's made some mistakes up there. I don't think he's sitting at 4-4 right now. Refused to go to the portal to draw in any quality players for him when you have a down year, particularly in recruiting. And I don't know that he saw that was a down year, but a lot of other folks did. It started back with a quarterback. I call it ukulele. That came in there a couple of 3 years ago, and that guy couldn't play dead in the Cowboy movie. I mean, he was 40 pounds overweight. He couldn't throw very well. I don't know what they saw in the kid, but to me, that was the first bad guy that started for him that I really recognized. But the fact is Dabo's done a great job there. What the guy was alluding to is how much they paid him. Well, they paid him for what he's done. There's no guarantee on the future of that contract. Of course, he that giveth can take it away also. So I don't know. I think Dabo might need to stay right where he is. I know a lot of people were flirting with him moving on maybe to Alabama or somewhere else because they've been retired, and I'm sure some other top quality jobs. But look, Dabo's built built himself into a legend there, and he's done a great job. I'll be the first to admit to that. So, by saying all that, having been on radio as many years as I did, I don't see how in the world. That's why I say I think it was a guilt complex from Dabo subconsciously that he had to get his point across. It just took him several minutes to do that. I don't ever remember a host letting the caller be on it that long, and particularly the nature of the conversation it was. I do go back to what John said. The board option it'll be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Talked with Max Howell this morning about the situation with Dabo Swinney. We talked about LSU and Alabama. Max, I will say that in your course of coaching high school football, probably in the state of Florida when you were at Gulf Breeze, which probably would have never left Gulf Breeze. If the bucket list to retire, I'd be on Pensacola Beach, going to Joe Patty's every day, picking up fresh seafood. I'd probably be the healthiest I've ever been. I'm going to say that Max Howell stole a few signs in his day.
Well, in those days, that was common. Look, even when I was at Florida State, I never will forget. We played Michigan State, the third or fourth ball game of the year. Coach Bowden sent me to Detroit, Michigan, to watch Notre Dame in an 11 o'clock ball game against Michigan State. And had a chance to visit with Coach Holmes prior to the game. He gave me all his notes. Of course, we had Skip on our staff at Florida State at the same time. So we prepared for that ball game based on what we saw. We knew that their major threat was Andre Rison, the number one choice in the NFL draft that year. He was a wide receiver. We knew how we were going to play him. We were going to lock Deion up with him. And sure enough, we did. He caught one 8-yard pass, and we beat him. But the reason he sent me up there was to find out, quote, as much as I could about our opposition. And that's the guys that people use. They paid my way, bought my ticket, put me up overnight. I rented me a car. I had all the things that go with a traveling coach to go to another team to scouting. Is what we call it in those days. Now, the point about the Michigan situation, and I know there's an underlying current up there that wants Harbaugh gone. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And this might be the thing that does it. But the fact is, the rule indicates that that's now not proper, let's say, to do that. I know they say illegal, but to have something illegal, there has to be a fine for it or a penalty for it. I looked in every book I could find. There is no written penalty for what what Michigan has done in this particular case. And what the hurrah is all about, I don't know. Michigan, even if they suspended him, Michigan will play just as well without him on the sidelines as they do with him.
Well,
so they got a really good football team.
And I think you're right. I think let's go back to that point that you made, talking with Max Howell, been on the staff of many college football teams. There's an underlying current that does not like Jim Harbaugh. You maybe like the winning.
Right.
And I think if you're looking at Michigan, if they're 5-5, I don't think the Big Ten athletic directors, the Big Ten coaches have a problem with it whatsoever. It's because of the success that Jim Harbaugh has had. And I'm going to tell you something. Right. I am in the minority. I like Jim Harbaugh. Maybe it's because he wears a white cotton T-shirt, the way my late father used to do, the glasses. I want to tell you, cutting edge, you remember, well, I know you do, came to Atlanta, had camps. Here's the deal. He was, we want out-of-the-box thinking. We want out-of-the-box thinking. But when we got somebody who does that, then we don't like it. I'm a fan of Harbaugh, and I think this is just a shot. Michigan's 5-5. I don't think the Big Ten athletic directors pay any attention to this whatsoever. And I also think that underlying current, he has let's go to a little Shakespeare this morning. Et tu, Brute. It is someone in Ann Arbor that wants Jim Harbaugh out of Michigan.
I don't think he's any doubt. I think if they should win the championship, I think he'll go. I really do. But think about out of the box. He talked about he did those recruiting camps everywhere. You know where he did one? He did one in Prattville, Alabama, right under Nick Saban's nose. I'm telling you, he's a man of many talents. Let's put it that way. I think most of them lend themselves to the NFL, though. And I think that's what this current that's there. We don't obviously don't know who it is, but there happens to be a group of guys that would have gone. He's not a Michigan guy, quote, whatever that means. So we'll see. It's all on the field from here out. Every Saturday we'll find out.
Well, you know what I say about Prattville, old rednecks don't die. They just moved to Prattville. But let's look at Michigan.
Some of us, Nick, move away. Let's talk about that.
Let's look at that schedule, though. Michigan, East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, Michigan State. They are undefeated. They are number 3 in the country. That's not the most impressive resume. They'll take care of Purdue today. So really it all boils down to next week versus Penn State, which I'll give you my thoughts on James Franklin. I think that if anybody is coaching Auburn other than Brian Harsin, I think you run Tank Bigsby. If you're on the 4th and 1, if you're on 1st and goal from the 1, and you throw 4 fade routes to the – should have been fired. The way they fired Lane Kiffin on the tarmac, first and goal from the 1, and your best play option is 4 fade routes to the corner of the end zone. And really you look at what is James Franklin's signature win. Of course, you'll have an opportunity to get that next week versus Michigan. They're going to take care – Michigan's going to take care of Purdue today. How do you see the Michigan-Penn State game 1 week from now?
I think Michigan's gonna roll. I really do. The one that everybody's gonna watch is Ohio State. It's the last ball game. I mean, that's what to me. That's where it's gonna clinch or not from either team. But that will be. And I look for that to be an extremely low scoring ball game as well. But I think they beat Penn State. I've watched them before. Franklin's done a good job with them, but I think if you watch them every snap, they're inconsistent. Pick out a player, just watch it 3 or 4 consecutive snaps. You're gonna find a piece of wide receiver. He'll run a hard route for a couple of those plays, and he dogs it for a couple. It's just I don't know what it is. It's something about the way they practice every day. I can almost promise you that. But the fact is, the inconsistency of what will kill Penn State, I think, against Michigan.
All right, Michigan, Ohio State in several weeks, Thanksgiving weekend. If both teams are undefeated, obviously one's going to come out with a loss. Do both teams make the playoffs?
That's a great point. I think it depends on what else everybody else does. You're talking about Michigan with a soft schedule. You didn't bother to mention Georgia. Georgia's had a soft as the SEC's seen in a long time. So I think really Michigan State would either one with one loss and the other undefeated. I think both of those make the playoffs. To tell you the truth, then Georgia will probably make it. Then the 4th spot, as always, will be debatable who can get there. I don't know where. I don't believe Alabama probably playing as well as they have. If Georgia plays their best ball game, Georgia beat Alabama, and Alabama will be left out with 2 losses. But fact is that that's why they play the game. I would not be a bookie in anybody's business in football. I don't see how those guys can make a living and how close they are sometimes in establishing the lines. But that's why they're in their business, and that's why we stay on radio so long and get a chance to talk about it.
Absolutely. Preacher Man, anything from Max Howell this morning?
No. Just, fascinated living to the inside. I got a little more faith in LSU today. I don't think Mizzou has a prayer, but I think if Jaden Daniels played, Texas kind of gave a recipe where you can hang with Alabama and beat them.
If Daniels can complete the game, you look for 2 spies to come after him. I can almost tell you. If he finishes the ball game, I'll be surprised.
Talking to Max Howell this morning. Max, Ole Miss versus Texas A&M. Is this a trap game for – I'm going to ask you rapid-fire questions. I have 15 minutes with Max. Always goes longer than that. But, Max, I'm going to ask you rapid-fire. Is this a trap game for the Ole Miss Rebels today against Texas A&M? And is Ole Miss capable of going into Athens, Georgia, and defeating the Bulldogs?
I don't think they can beat Georgia. I pretty well already know the game plan, what he's going to do. But the fact is, I think he wins today. I think the pass offense, Dart will probably throw the ball 40 times. That's going to be kind of the game plan he's going in for Georgia as well. They're not going to be able to run the ball very well against him. Look, they got that number 74 that Alabama's got it to tackle. Ole Miss has got a couple of those that just cannot be consistent with their alignment. And knocking folks off the ball. That's why the running back, the little freshman running back they had, Junkin, they had last year, and of course he's still playing now, led the SEC in rushing, but he's had a mediocre year up there because of the offensive run. Just, keep knock them off the ball. So I do think they beat them through the air today. But
who would be a great candidate? And now, how difficult is that? You mentioned it before. You talk about the money situation when you're coaching at some schools. The ceiling is not as high as it is at other places. You have to think that with Texas and Oklahoma entering the Southeastern Conference, boy, that really destroys Arkansas. That is the one thing they could go into neighboring states and say, hey, you can come play for us. You're in the SEC. But now with Oklahoma and Texas joining the conference, that's off the table.
Well, now, there's an underlying story going around right there, Dick, that Arkansas may go back to the Big 12. That, to me, that would open up the door for them. I don't think that. When they get another coach next year, Kendall Briles probably might be the best prospect, per se. But, Sam Pitt would love that job. He wanted the job for a long time. He come in. After he took the job, that would be his last college coaching job, that he's ready to retire. So he's earned some bad luck. Look how close he's played those games, even though he lost as many as he had. And I'll go back to another part of it. I think I've mentioned that to you before. I've got a really good friend that works in the administration up there with through the media portion of it, and he tells me the hardest thing to do at Arkansas is to recruit great players. And there's several reasons for that. The diversity on the campus is almost non-existent. And, it's the location of the university. And then, of course, playing in the SEC West is not the easiest thing to do every weekend. So I think that combination of facts might tend to, even though the money's been great for Arkansas, I think they may trade that to get a chance to have a good winning season every year. That would make the Big 12 look mighty inviting to me.
I'm going to make a correlation. I'm going to say Sam Pittman is Doug Barfield Part 2.0, a guy that knows the game of football, is in a very difficult situation, and plays everybody close. You go look at the coaching career of Doug Barfield when he was at Auburn. You go through when Sug Jordan stepped aside and retired. A lot of people wanted Paul Davis to get that job. Doug Barfield got it. Doug Barfield, great coach, great football mind, great man, just in a very tough situation.
Yep. Well, I mean, Pittman's in the same, I think for different reasons, but the same situation. And sometimes, though, every great coach is not made for every job. It doesn't matter. It's a personality fit. Can you attract other coaches to come along and help build a program? Can you get along with the kids, or the vice versa? I mean, it's so.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Number one, side note, you need to go watch the 1999 season on Bobby Bowden in Florida State, going wire to wire. Boy, watched that the other night. Just a great watch. I really enjoyed watching that. That was really good. But I'm going to tell you, I'm giving you my hot takes. It's in the state of Mississippi. I'm going to say that Zach Arnett at Mississippi State wins one more game on the season, and midway through next season, the Bulldogs make a change. I know a difficult situation. You come in, the untimely death of Mike Leach. They're going to lose to Kentucky today. They're going to lose to Texas A&M. They're going to defeat Will Hall and Southern Miss on November 18th. Then they're going to drop the final one to Ole Miss, maybe an embarrassing loss, because if Lane Kiffin can run the score up, he will. About midway through next season, Mississippi State's going to make a change, and I'm going to say you heard it here first. Dan Mullen back in Starkville. What are your thoughts on that?
No way. Mullen's through. You remember, Mullen orchestrated his dismissal at Clark. I don't know whether you know that or not for sure, but that's absolutely the fact. He was tired of that. He's tired of recruiting. He thought he was good enough to be in the NFL, and nobody came looking for him then. He'd never go back to Starkville. He was the most unhappy guy the 9 years he was there, the guy you ever talked to. I can promise you that. Now, I'm not real sure when it makes it the beginning of next season. I think he'd be happy to get out of there and go somewhere and just get a coordinator job. I mean, look, when you got the old air sports talk guys in statewide radio in Mississippi already figuring out his contract, what the buyout is, how much he'll make if he goes to a D1 school and takes a coordinator's job for $2 million. What's his net income going to be between the two schools? That's the topic of conversation now for the last 2 weeks in talk radio in Mississippi. So, I'm sure he's a good guy, but he doesn't. If you watch him on the sideline, he doesn't handle himself very well. He doesn't communicate with anybody. He's kind of aloof, and I understand that's the way that's his personality. Now, I don't take anything away from him on his defensive side of the ball coaching. He turned that thing around for Mike Leach on the defensive side. And I think he can always get him a job there. But I think he's as unhappy as he appears to be on the sideline right now as a head football coach.
Well,
I know the money's not great, but it's not where it's more than a coordinator's job right now.
Well, I'll tell you this. My wife wants to go snow skiing, and I know what's going to happen. You ever heard the term over your skis? I think certainly that applies here, but who is the ideal fit in Starkville, Mississippi?
Well, who knows that now? Look, there'll be a list lined up, though. Any major university job in the country, when it comes open, or even before it's open, that athletic director's got a list of names he's going after. I've not heard one. That the discussion under current right now is that he's going to probably, I don't know where he'll be asked to step down, or he's just going to volunteer it. He's an unhappy guy right now, Dick. I can tell you that. But the fact is, I don't know where they go. That school probably is in line for a move up like Napier did from Louisiana to Florida. where they could go at that, go to Gus South or some boy like that and bring a young coach up to take that job. But I think that's where they go. I don't think an experienced football coach has had a winning record score to go to Charlotte. Charlotte, Mississippi is a hard place to recruit to now. I'm gonna tell you, it's just tough. It's a great university. I don't think they lack into the funds. It's just the environment there. It's different than it is in most other schools in the SEC.
Well, Max, I've done it again. There's no such thing as 15 minutes with Max. You enjoyed college football today and appreciate you being part of the Nick Brown Show.
Always my pleasure, Nick. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to the Nick Brown Show on the Nick Brown Show Network. We'll be right back to close up shop.
This hour's weather brought to you by Louisiana Land Bank.
My name is Jay, Vice President for Louisiana Land Bank in Monroe. Buying land's a very emotional thing. They've thought about this, might have been thinking about it since they were 12 years old. It's not just, hey, let's go buy some land. People look, research, and want to make sure they find the right spot. And when they find that right piece of land, it's an emotional thing for them. Louisiana Land Bank, that's all we do. We lend money to agriculture. You know, we make dreams come true. If you're looking to finance agriculture real estate, call me, Jared Seller, Louisiana Land Bank.
I'm hashing over an ethical dilemma, so I think I could use some black coffee.
Of course, you can get black coffee and all your favorite coffee beverages at the Depot Coffee Shop. The Depot Coffee Shop is located at 211 West Railroad Avenue in downtown Ruston. The Depot Coffee Shop is coffee with a cause. The Depot Coffee Shop is open Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. and on Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 8 to 3. Call in your order at 232-7084 or visit the Depot Coffee Shop.
Hey folks, Sean Fox with Sports Talk. Let me give you an example of how advertising can work. Whenever we have a get-together before a big game, we love to throw a little sausage on the grill. The last couple of years, I've noticed country pleasing sausage on the first baseline at Louisiana Tech, and I thought, self, let's go and try this for ourselves. And we did. And folks, once we tried country pleasing at the Fox household, we've never looked back. And now is the official tailgate supplier of us here at Sports Talk 97.7. Get to your local retailer and see for yourself what the hype's all about with country pleasing sausage.
Hey guys, the gals aren't the only ones that care about their look. Let Adrian Russell or Dara Davis at LaBella Salon give you just the right hairstyle. Need a massage? Mamie Lee is their massage therapist and can work out those sore tired muscles. Go ahead, schedule an appointment today. Call LaBella Salon 202-5848. LaBella Salon, 105 Willis Drive, next to Skip Russell State Farm in Ruston. What are you waiting for? Now's a great time to give them a call. LaBella Salon, 202-5848. Walk-ins welcome.
Is the IRS coming after you for unpaid taxes you can't afford to pay? This special notice is for you. The IRS has made it easier to resolve your tax debt with special IRS tax relief programs, including the Fresh Start Initiative. These historic IRS programs are designed to help taxpayers like you resolve their tax debt and may qualify you for significant reductions. Call Community Tax to see if you qualify. They're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau with 4.5 stars on Google, and they're top rated by Consumer Affairs. Now's your chance for significant relief. Free yourself from your IRS nightmare and avoid wage garnishments, liens on your bank account, your pension on your home, or even your Social Security income. If you can't afford to pay your back taxes, if you haven't filed in years, call the Community Tax Helpline now at 800-251-9531. Solve your IRS problems today. Call for your free consultation. 800-251-9531. 800-251-9531.
Saturday morning, sports, and the Nick Brown Show. You can't beat it.
Nick, I got a couple of texts I'm going to read. One was too legit to quit coming in hard on Nick. He's saying, imagine the man who hates Louisiana picking LSU to lose. Of course, notice who did not pick LSU to lose. And then we have one from the 252 area code. I think this may be North Carolina Andy. He, mentioned about 8-man high school football playoffs are going on right now in North Carolina. And a message for Bama Jim. He says, go Tigers. And then Josh Owen has this text in, quite interesting on this week of honoring Bob Knight. He said when Bob Knight coached at West Point, of course he had Coach K, was a player on his team, but an assistant coach with him was Bill Parcells. So you had Bob Knight, Bill Parcells coaching, and Coach K as a player. So quite a combination there.
I'm gonna take it a step further. On that same staff, you had Joe Champy, who ended up going into women's basketball and leading Auburn to 3 straight Final Fours and runner-up. In fact, one of Leon Balmore's championship was over the Auburn Lady Tigers. So that was a strong coaching staff at West Point. And just take a minute to reflect upon the passing of Bobby Knight. Of course, you'll remember the volatile emotions, but had an opportunity years ago to actually go out to Lubbock and take the team that I was coaching, the Simsboro Tigers, called my brother, and he went with us a long trip to Lubbock and went out, and it was interesting because it was in the arena, and boy, you could just feel it was just really the aura, and felt strange. It felt like someone was watching over my shoulder, and I looked around, and Bobby Knight had come and sat down right beside me, and that's the only time I've never ever been speechless. But what do you say to Bobby Knight? It was what a legend, and then passed away this week. Bobby Knight, the late Bobby Knight, boy, great coach in the national championships he won at Indiana. Of course, we know the dismissal fact in Hattiesburg. Neil Reed, one of those players that Bobby Knight was on video on a recording, and Neil Reed ended up transferring to Southern Miss. But to appreciate Josh chiming in on Bobby Knight this morning. A lot of great thoughts. But no, you look at it, and don't hate Louisiana. In fact, but I just think that Alabama in Tuscaloosa is going to be tough to beat. And you mentioned what Max talked about. Jaden Daniels a lot tougher. We have an opinion of Pac-12, and the SEC it just means more. But Jaden Daniels is one tough quarterback. You look at the Missouri game. I just think that Alabama is a lot tougher than Missouri. I know that LSU won the Missouri game. You look at the games that Alabama, the one game that they've lost. I just think that Alabama's a better team than LSU, and I think you look at the home field, it's going to be worth 3 points. I don't know if Alabama is, if you want to say even the home field, Bryant-Denny Stadium, worth 3 points. I think Alabama wins this game. And I think also when you come in asking about a 3-way tie, you're getting prepared for that. But I think that Alabama wins that game. Now, if Alabama's quarterback situation, if Milroe is not playing, then obviously if he were to be injured during the contest, then that would change the connotation. But I think Alabama wins tonight over LSU. And you look through the rest of the schedule in college football. Interesting to watch go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's a big game, couple of big, games with playoff implications that we don't think about in our part of the world. But Washington, 5th ranked at Southern Cal. Southern Cal struggled 3 weeks in a row, but still Caleb Williams won a game last week, 50-49 or something. They should have won. That's a game with playoff implications. And then K-State at Texas, but Texas again starting the backup quarterback, redshirt freshman. So games with playoff implications there that could affect our SEC teams.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting to watch out of the University of Texas, if this is the battle that you're seeing and Arch Manning is not playing, is this a situation where Arch Manning may enter the transfer portal? And if so, where's his landing spot? You look at Oregon. Bo Nix is graduating this year. You look at Alabama, their quarterback situation. If Arch Manning decides to enter the transfer portal, there are going to be some quality landing spots where he can come in right away and all the teammate and the supporting cast is around him and be totally successful, or does he stay at the University of Texas? So a lot of things.
I think the Manning fans are big Sarkisian fans. So if they feel like, he's got to get stronger, he's got to get bigger, give him time to develop. Next year, if Ewers does go on into the draft, then you've got a pretty wide open quarterback battle there. So, are they patient, wait it out, happy, okay, we keep him from getting injured, he starts 1 year at Texas, and then go from there. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Or if he wants to, I got to move, so I got to play. But is he ready to play?
Well, I want to tell you this.
Texas is third choice.
Well, you look at this, though. You go from Isidore Newman High School in Louisiana to the University of Texas. It's light and day. Isidore Newman, not a 5A school. And you look at the quality of opponents that he faced each and every week. I know he's an excellent quarterback, but I think what your quarterback in Tennessee from California, probably better one, in my opinion, in that draft based on high school competition. I mean, Arch Manning, very good quarterback, had much success at Isidore Newman, but he's not facing the competition that we witnessed last night between Ruston and West Monroe and other places around the country He dominated in the league that he was in. He dominated the school that he was in. But I put that competition up, and I think maybe an entire redshirt year would be the right thing. Looking at Conference USA football for today, certainly appreciate everyone listening to the show today. Jacksonville State at South Carolina. We mentioned that, but here's a game that you're not going to watch. But I will. Kennesaw State at Sam Houston. Now, both of these programs, Kennesaw State will be in Conference USA next year. Great baseball school. Made it to a regional, not this past season, but the season before. Very picturesque campus in the mountainous region of Georgia. Just think of the App State version in Conference USA, but Kennesaw State will be at Sam Houston. That one really, Sam Houston, an FCS program making the move up. Kennesaw State still playing an FCS schedule on ESPN+. Louisiana Tech will be at Liberty. Liberty undefeated. I don't think Louisiana Tech is good enough to go into Liberty Williams Stadium in Lynchburg, Virginia. But it's interesting because Liberty undefeated and unranked shows you the strength of your conference. That one can be seen on CBS Sports Network. Middle Tennessee at New Mexico State. Jerry Kill, fondness for him on the Nick Brown Show, 5 o'clock kick on ESPN+. And Western Kentucky at UTEP at 8 o'clock tonight, also on ESPN+. So good to see Conference USA move away from those midweek games, and we'll see how it goes. I think the attendance was down across the league, but that's what you do for the television dollar, so I think it'll be that way for the next few October.
Is that already decided for next year that they're going to do that?
I think it was a 2-year deal. And I know we're in the closing minutes of the show, but Clayton, that's why I think at some point, Preacher Man, you got to have a split in college football. All the rules that we're talking about today, everything you're talking about has been geared towards the Power 5, not for the G5. And there's only one negative if the Power 5 wanted to flex their muscles that they could. And I'm telling you, it's time for a split in G5. You look at programs, Louisiana Tech, Louisiana Monroe, Southern Miss, to the top, where I am right here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, in the shadows of M.M. Roberts Stadium today, as the Nick Brown Show is on the road, making their way to Biloxi to watch Louisiana Tech and Auburn play baseball, which will be interesting. Son on the Louisiana Tech baseball team. I finished at Auburn. I'll wear an Auburn cap and a Louisiana Tech sweatshirt. So it's kind of be, you pull for family. Blood is thicker than water. So I'm in unusual territory today. So, in 53 years, 54 losing count, never really have pulled against Auburn before in my life. But there's a first time for everything. So that will come today around 1 o'clock in Biloxi, Mississippi. But back to the original thought. It's time to split. You got the Preacher Man, who is a head coach at Louisiana Monroe. Let's just go Terry Bowden. Terry Bowden recruits the Preacher Man out of McKenzie, Tennessee. No one knows who the Preacher Man is. Clayton Owen. He comes to ULM. He tears it up at tight end. He's the best bow-legged tight end in the Sun Belt. And then all of a sudden, Tennessee says, hey, wait a minute. We missed this guy in our own backyard. Well, certainly, Clayton wants to go back to the University of Tennessee so his parents and grandparents and girlfriend can watch him play. So he's going to Tennessee. But he was the person that found you was Bowden. And lo and behold, you look at that. And so now that situation, what is the penalty for Tennessee? Nothing. And so I would like for there to be a split in the G5 and the Power 5 and move away from that.
If that happens, you're going to see the schools in the FCS would move into this division. And if I was out there looking right now, if I was Conference USA, I'd be early making some headway into North Dakota State and South Dakota State, because I think they would move up into that if there was a championship at that level. And that's an underrated game today, defending national FCS champ South Dakota State and North Dakota State playing today at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, it got word that it's a 2 or 3 year deal on Conference USA playing the midweek games. So, but back to what I was saying. And my point, if Tennessee comes into Louisiana Monroe, Louisiana Tech, and gets a player, if you move up from the G5 to the P5, you're ineligible for a year. Going back to the old rules, if you move down, then you're eligible. Here's the thing. If you want immediate eligibility, you got 4 reasons. The coach dies, the coach retires, the coach moves to greener pastures, the coach is fired. Okay?
You graduate.
Yeah, and yes, but I want to say that's the initial context of it, if you graduate, yes, you could be a graduate transfer because it's only going, all these rules that are set in place, you have to realize they're designed to protect the Power 5 league, to protect your brand that's making you the most money. And I think the only negative of this is that the Power 5 flexed their muscles and said, you know what, if you want a different league for football, guess what? Your basketball teams, which we've seen at Florida Atlantic, led by Dusty May, going to the Final Four. We've seen it in baseball with Fresno State. We've seen it with Rice. We've seen it with Coastal Carolina, can compete. And you see where they compete, where the scholarships are fewer in numbers. That's why they're pushing at the Power 5 level to get more scholarships in those sports. But the point is, that would be the case. So we'll talk about this again next week. Appreciate those. Know we had maybe a few technical difficulties, but we're working on it. On the road today, on the way to Biloxi, Mississippi, Preacher Man, to the Biloxi Shuckers Ballpark to watch Louisiana Tech and Auburn. First pitch is at 1 o'clock.
Spending the night tonight?
No, we're making our way back. We're not going to let you talk bad about me missing church tomorrow. So for the Preacher Man, for John,
Gonna sub for you.
you should permanent. But for the Preacher Man, for John Tabor, for all of you listening, those watching on Facebook Live today. Until next time, as always, keep the coffee warm.